Good afternoon, folks. Just wanted to make you a quick little video here. It's nothing particular. I'm actually just sitting here doing some cleanup on the radio. Thought I'd take a minute to chit chat with you about a few things that's kind of on my mind. Nothing serious, I don't suppose, just some things that are on my mind. But while I'm at it, I'll kind of give you a rundown of what I'm doing. I've got some of these super expensive Dollar Tree brushes here. Little metal handles and cheapo little plastic bristles and so on and so forth. Let's see, I've got another one here. When you get them, the bristles are about twice as long as what I've got here. So I take the scissors and snip and trim them back to where they're shorter. And the reason that I do so, and I normally just do one and keep it till I wear it out or use it up. But it makes the bristles much stiffer. That way you can scrub better with them that way. And then of course the other thing is my WD-40 contact cleaner that I really like. Don't have to order it and wait for it to be shipped to you. I get this at Walmart, same place you get everything else. It's made in China these days. And I hadn't even looked on this to see where it's made, but I guess maybe that's not important at this particular point. But anyway, I do find this at our local Walmart, so that's where I get it at. And what I'm doing is, in these radios, you'll find places where people have soldered different places, different things over the years, and even some of it's factory. I'm sure that you can't really tell. Whoops, wrong way. I always go the wrong direction. Move my radio back. Like for example here, there's a lot of that brown, crusty looking flux residue left behind from the solder job. Just a little shot of contact cleaner. If I can do it without squirting the whole can out there. And then your little brush, and you just give her a little scrubby, and it cleans it up really nice. And I like to take the extra time on a lot of these radios to do extras like this. No, the owner is not going to take the cover off of it and put it on his desk or his bench or his table or whatever and hook it up and use it like this so he can sit and admire how clean the board is. You're exactly right about that, but the thing of it is, it makes for a better job. It makes for a more professional job, and the customer gets a better product back. Now I'm going to continue cleaning while I'm talking here, if that's okay with everybody. But anyway, that's kind of what this video is about, is professionalism and quality of work and what you get for your dollar when you buy a radio from somebody or you send your radio in to have it repaired, modified, peaked and tuned, as a lot of people call it. I don't necessarily call it that because that's kind of misleading. Not a completely accurate description of what's actually done if it's done correctly. Peak and tune done correctly is more of a alignment. And alignment and tune up is, I guess, what I would phrase it as. There's been a lot of talk in the CB world about who's good at this, who's good at that, that kind of thing. Who's the best out there, who's not, who do you not want to send your radio to, who do you want to send your radio to, so on, and so on. And it's a big debate, has been for some time, and probably always will be as long as there's CB radios. And when it's not CB radios, it'll be mechanics, or it'll be, whatever the case may be. But at this particular point, I'm discussing CB radios, so that's what we're going to talk about. There's, to my surprise, before we go into that, let me just say this. I had actually been out of CB repair for a while. I started doing this back in the late 80s when I first started learning. I worked with a gentleman in my hometown. He was a good tech, and he was a generous person. And it came to his attention that there was a young man in the county that had some interest in CB repair. So basically what it comes down to is he offered to take me in and teach me what he could. I graciously accepted, and I went to work for him. Well, I guess you'd say more or less with him. And I worked with him for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, I guess, until he decided to close shop, and then I opened up my own shop, and it went from there. But I had been out of it for a while, and I got the urge again sometime back to mess with radios and talk on radios, and one thing led to another, and here I am. It's me having a shop now. It was not actually intentional. That's not what I intended to do when I got back into it and got interested again. I mostly intended to hook a radio up and do a little bit of talking, and that was about the extent of it, but it didn't turn out that way. But there's a lot of guys out there these days, now that I'm back in it. And see, when I was in it before, you didn't have internet. And I know for some of you young guys that's hard to imagine. What, a world with no internet? Well, yeah, that's the way it was when I started this. So you were pretty much limited to local traffic, local customers. And yes, there was debates and, this guy's better than that guy kind of thing, but I had no idea that it had progressed to the level that it has these days with the invention of the internet and social media and all the wonderful things that we have these days. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not complaining. I'm not bashing. None of that. I'm simply just discussing. But with things the way they are these days, it is super easy to send a message to the other side of the world in a second or less. And that gives people access to a whole new way to, number one, bash people, badmouth people, scam people, trick people, and steal from people. It can be done almost instantly. And that, to me, is a very, very sad thing. So that brings us to my main topic, I guess. I was taught when I got well, even before I got into this, my dad my dad taught me all my life, you know. He said, son, he said, I don't care what you do. He said, whatever you do, he said, just always do the very best that you can while doing it. He said, I don't care if you clean out septic tanks, septic systems, sewers for a living. He said, no, that's not a glamorous and glorious job. He said, but it'll feed your family. You know, it'll make you a payday. And he said, you know, I don't care if that's what you do. Do the very best you can at that job. And that's pretty well stuck with me all my life. And, you know, I'm having to be very careful here, because I don't want to offend anybody, because I'm not actually speaking about any single individual person. This is kind of a blanket statement. But apparently everybody wasn't raised with the same values that I was, because there seems to be no shortage of people out there that don't care what they give their customers back as far as the quality of work, or there's a lot of them that don't even care really if they give back to the customer what they say they're giving back to the customer, whether it's, you know, radio repair or purchasing a radio or whatever the case, any type of radio equipment. There's folks out there that are not shy about saying, well, you're getting this, but yet in reality, with the covers on the radio, those covers are hiding the fact that you're not really getting this. You're actually getting much less, and you're being told, you know, that you're getting more than what you are in reality. Now, and I don't mean this so much in a 100% purely physical sense either. You know, let's use this radio right here for just an example. This is a sideband radio, and sideband is a little bit different than AM radios. And I won't go into a lot of details or whatever. Some of you are going to say, well, he must not know what he's talking about, because a sideband is a whole lot different than AM. Well, yeah, that's true too. So, you know, I'm just generalizing is what I'm doing. So let's don't get too picky and too technical about things. But anyway, I worked on this radio yesterday. I did a complete, let me turn it over here. I did a complete recap on this radio. All of the capacitors in this radio have been changed to new caps. Every capacitor in it's been changed to the old one pulled out, and a new one of greater, equal to or greater than the original value of voltage, while maintaining the same value of capacitance or microfarads, whichever way you want to term it, doesn't matter. So anyway, I spent most of the day yesterday recapping and doing an alignment. Okay, let's go back this way. And this is not intended to sound like I'm belittling anybody that's watching the video or anything of the sort. It's not meant to sound like I'm talking to people that are stupid that don't know anything at all about a radio. It's just well, let me get this other pointer. It's just that I want to, like I said earlier, I want to keep it simple, because it's not about the radio so much as it is quality of service. let's say. That's probably the best choice. But anyhow, in doing an alignment on a radio, you have these really cool little plastic sticks, ceramic sticks, whatever. These are cheapos. I use them because when I use them up, I just throw them away and break out a new set and continue on. But these are used to tune these little square cans, as most people call them. They're little transformers, and depending on, it's got this little slug in the middle that screws up and down inside. Depending on what depth, how deep or how shallow that's set, changes a multitude of things inside this radio. You get this little guy in the wrong one of these and twist it even a quarter of a turn, or some of them even less, even a tenth of a turn. I'm not going to say it does a lot of damage to the radio, but it can have a huge effect on the performance of the radio. Is probably the best way to put it. So I guess really what the point that I'm headed towards is, if you're going to put a tuning wand in anything in here that has a screwdriver slot in it, you need to have an oscilloscope, you need to have a frequency counter, you need to have a good DC multimeter. You need to have test equipment, is what I'm getting at. Because if you put this in this little guy right here and you start twisting without having test equipment hooked to this radio so that you can see on screen what effect it's having on this radio when you turn this, then you know, it's just a shot in the dark. You have no idea what it's doing. You have no idea if you're making it better, worse. You don't know if this is even the one that you should be fiddling with. It may be this one that's got the wax inside. You know, you may say, well, I got to dig all that wax out so I can get to that little tuning slug inside and crank this thing up. Well, that's not the case. And especially on a sideband radio, if you don't have the necessary equipment, which you can't see, it's all back here on the back side of my bench back here, that direction. If you don't have all the necessary test equipment to see the effect of what you're doing, visually see the effects of what you're doing inside this radio, especially on a sideband radio, then you don't need to ever even pick up one of these. You don't need to mess with any of these little guys, because it's not, well, I had a Cobra 29 open, you know, and this one right here turned the power up, you know, for example. So then you get a Cobra base station, you know, a 142, a 2000, or whatever, and you take the cover off of it. Oh yeah, it's that one right there, because that's the one it was in that Cobra 29. That's it. And you get in there and you go to cranking, and the first thing you know, you're way off frequency. So it's not the same one in every radio, guys. And you know, other things like changing out different, you know, components to upgrade components. Capacitors, for example. We'll talk about, we'll use a capacitor for an example. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can improve a radio's transmit audio and receive audio. Some people call it hi-fi. Some people call it this, some people call it that, but in a nutshell, there's ways to improve transmit audio and receive audio. And in most cases, that includes, but not limited to, changing out some capacitors to a different value. a particular area will change how the audio sounds in transmit or receive or both. Yeah, you can open the radio up and you can pop 3 caps out, pop 3 new ones back in of a different value, and chances are something's going to change. Is it going to be what you wanted to change? Probably not. Let's say you've been doing this particular mod for the last 7-8 years, and so far you've not really had any problems with it. But my point is, how do you know how much difference it's making? How do you know if it's making an improvement, if it's degrading the audio or improving the audio? How do you know if you don't have equipment to hook up to the radio and see what you're doing? Hard one there. Well, I've sold a bunch of them. I've done a bunch of them for my buddies. They all say it sounds really good. Okay, well, that's cool. Everybody says they sound good. Well, that's fantastic. Those same people that say that it sounds good probably are not lying to you. Radio probably does sound good, but most likely not a single one of those people that tell you that the radio sounds good can tell you how to come in this radio and how to adjust or how to tune it, how to do an alignment on the sideband side of it, or even the AM part of it, how to do an alignment on it and make sideband work correctly or make AM work correctly if you don't have the equipment to connect to the radio and see what you're doing. I just happened to think about this. Let me see if I can find something here. Okay, here it is. Hopefully you guys can see this. And this is just, this happened to be laying on the desk here. I don't even know what radio this is for, but anyway, this is alignment procedures for some radio, and which radio is not important. Right here, you need the radio in AM mode. The can, so to speak, that you're going to adjust is L17, which is going to be marked on the board beside the little square metal can. And the frequency that you want to adjust to is 27.185 on AM. Now it says to check that at the antenna socket during transmit. You do this check last. Next one, LSB, lower sideband. You're going to adjust CT2, which is a tiny little adjustment in here. It's not one of the square cans. But anyway, the frequency that you're looking for on your frequency counter that you have hooked to the radio, you're going to be looking for 7.7975 megahertz. And upper sideband is CT1. And somebody's just dinging me like crazy over here. But anyway, upper sideband, you're going to adjust CT1, and you're looking for a frequency of 7.8025. Now, that's just a good example. And then back up here, let's go back up here and look. This is another part of the alignment procedure. AM, you're going to be adjusting L20. The frequency that you want to adjust it to is 34.985. Lower sideband, you're going to be adjusting L19. The frequency that you're looking for is 34.9825. And upper sideband, CT3 is adjust CT3, and you're going to adjust it to 34.9875. And then on transmit, you're going to be adjusting VR3, and you're going to be adjusting for 34.985. check during transmit on AM. Now, with that said, how do you do that without equipment to connect to a radio so that you can see what you're doing while you're in here twisting and turning and, screwdrivering this thing? There's a lot of folks out there these days. You can buy anything from very inexpensive equipment cards, so to speak, that you put in your computer that makes your computer simulate an oscilloscope or a spectrum analyzer or a digital multimeter or whatever. They're available from very inexpensive to, honestly, probably quite expensive. The problem with that is they're not as accurate, and they don't function. They don't have the same functionality as an actual oscilloscope or an actual multimeter, digital multimeter, or a spectrum analyzer, or a frequency counter, any of this test equipment that you need on the bench to do this kind of work. So, I guess kind of my point is, there's a lot of folks out there that say that they are really, really good CB repair guys, or that they are the best, or that their radios are the best on the market, or whatever. And don't misunderstand. I don't have anything here to sell any of you. I'm not trying to sell you radios. I'm not even trying to sell you my services. I'm honestly just trying to keep some people, hopefully a lot of people, the more the better, from getting taken advantage of by some of these folks that are not quite as honest as they probably should be about their experience, about their equipment, and about their abilities. So I guess really what this whole thing boils down to is I've got a radio to finish cleaning, and I just got kind of sidetracked there with talking and didn't get much cleaning done. But it was mainly a topic that I just kind of wanted to put out there, that we need to be careful about who we trust, and do your homework on people. Don't be shy. It's your radio, or it's your money, and your money, you work hard to earn it. I'm assuming some people don't. I don't guess, but most people do. I know I do. And you have the right. You have the right to know that either the service that you're getting is top notch, or the equipment that you're buying is exactly what it's supposed to be, or what it's advertised as. So since you have that right, don't be shy. Don't be shy about asking questions. Don't be shy about saying, hey, what brand of oscilloscope do you have? What model number is your oscilloscope? Even if you don't know anything about oscilloscopes, ask anyway. Because you can, number one, if you ask somebody, say, hey, what kind of oscilloscope do you use? And they tell you, oh, I've got the best computer program that there is. Wrong answer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Wrong answer. You know, you don't need to go any further than that, because you just got all the information that you need. If they tell you something like, well, I've got a Syncor model SC3100, even if you don't have any clue what that is, as they say now, Google is your friend. Jump on the internet, search for it, see what it is, see if it's actually a legit thing. Make sure that it's not just made up numbers that the guy gave you. And like I said, don't be shy. Ask questions. Really ask questions. Not about the radio. Ask questions about the tech, his workbench, what kind of equipment he has. Ask for equipment names. Ask for equipment model numbers. All these things. Because more than likely, you'll get the answer that you're looking for, that you need, a lot of times just in the way the way that they reply to you. Not what they say, but just how they reply. If they hesitate and kind of stumble around a little bit, you right off the bat, bad sign. Guy probably don't even have a scope. If he don't have a scope, you don't want him touching your radio. If he don't have a scope, you don't want to buy a radio from him that he claims he has tuned up and made modifications to make it talk better, make it louder, make it, extra channels, whatever. No scope, no business. I mean, no frequency counter, no business. No this, no that, whatever, no business. Just don't be shy about asking what you're getting for your money, is all I'm saying. Because it's not just one person, there's a lot of them out there that run these little, I won't call it scams, because they do. Most of them do provide some type of service for what you get, or for the money that you spend with them. The problem is, what kind of quality is that service? Just providing a service is not good enough. The quality of the service is, in my opinion, more important than the service itself. Because if, Jack Smith over here, let's say he claims that he's got a shop and he's been doing this for 60 years, and oh yeah, I can handle that, no problem. And you spend $350 to buy a radio that he's supposedly got all fixed up and modified and peaked and tuned and all the bells and whistles and VFO wind up and clarifier unlocked, extra channels, everything you can think of, and you get it, and yeah, it may have extra channels, and it may have the VFO wind up, and it may have this, and it may have that, and it may be plated with fake gold or what, you get my point. But if that radio is not on frequency, that radio is no good to you whatsoever. There's nothing you can do with it except turn it on and listen to static. I mean, that's it. So that's what I'm saying is, make sure you do your homework to try to be as sure as you can that you're getting quality. And again, I don't have anything here to sell. This is not a sales pitch video. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not asking you to call me, or I'm not asking you to do this or do that or anything, because this is not a sales video. But just be sure as you can. Do your homework. Ask questions. Don't be shy. What kind of scope you use? What brand is it? What model number is it? Is it dual channel? Is it 100 megahertz? You know, what kind of equipment is being used to either repair my radio or to work on the one that I'm buying from you? You know, you'll catch a lot of folks and a lot of no-nos that way. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to cleaning my radio and see who all this is. Been over here making my phone make all these strange noises, and I hope you guys get something out of this. You didn't get to see me do a whole lot of cleaning on the radio, but maybe you got some good information from it. Anyway, hope you folks have a good one, and maybe it won't be too long before I get the next video out. Maybe it'll be more useful to you than this one was. Have a good one. Be the Red Eagle. We out of here.